Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Golden Feather. Grab a pint, a plate, and pick your seats. Your hosts, Vertek and Chibi Bree, are back from their latest adventure.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Golden Feather. Today being the 1st of July, 2022. We're on episode number 128. What that axe do, though? Everybody's wondering. And we have our guest again this week because he was supposed to be a guest last week, and they delayed the live stream. So we had him on again this week to talk about what we originally wanted to talk about. This is the one, the only Captain Redbeard. How you doing, sir?
Doing good. How are you guys doing today?
Doing pretty all right. Excited to finally talk about this stuff, to be honest.
Yep.
Been seeing everyone else talking about it, like our time is tomorrow. It's tomorrow.
Yeah.
And as always, to that side is the Chibi Bree. How are you today?
I am happy to be able to finally not be doing work or running around like a crazy person.
That's always a good thing. It's always a good thing.
Indeed. Tech, thank you. 3 months. Appreciate it.
Ooh-ha.
I'm short, sorry.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated. And just so you guys know, by the way, doing a little bit something different with the background music this week, so let me know if it sounds too loud sometimes or too quiet sometimes. And you should see the title and artist now underneath the video and above our lovely faces, in case you're wondering who it is that's playing. Both artists that we have right now are from the Ashes community. We got the PGN Music, and we have Milord. Yep. Who
some nice little pics out there.
Fantastically made us a little intro song. Which is what we have going right now.
Lots to talk about with combat. I wanted to, just because we're going to be talking a lot about combat, could we just jump to the news section real quick and then retrace our steps?
I'm sure we could do that.
Okay. Well, thank you to Captain Redbeard. He's let us know that people have been receiving emails saying that they are banned from the Ashes forums. This is a mistake, but you still need to submit a ticket to get the issue corrected. And he has provided us with a link that I will give to you now. So yes, be advised, if you get a email that says you've been banned from the forums, please make a ticket and reach out to them, as it is surely a mistake, unless you were banned well before this for doing something.
For being a naughty monkey.
I don't know. I've never been banned from the forums before. So,
actually, I'm gonna make this bigger too.
The only other thing I have to share is, of course, the biggest thing to come from this live stream is they want your feedback on the basic melee weapon attack update. However, a lot of people have noticed it says, or showed rather, daggers and the sword, but no axes.
No axes.
No axes, no mace, no spear. We got a lot of stuff to still see.
But at least, you know, they did these two because one's going to be the slowest and one's going to be the quickest. Yeah. And also, I think, intended to feel the heaviest and the lightest. So, you know, opposite ends of the spectrum.
Hello, Mrs. Redbeard. Welcome in.
First time chat from Mrs. Redbeard. Any relation? I mean, I'm just curious. It's same last name there. So.
Yeah, she found me on the side of the road one day, and I've just been living with her ever since.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Adoption can be a little bit of a pain. My condolences, Mrs. Redbeard.
Hello, Zelly. I think that's how I say your name. Welcome in.
Zelexia. That's how I'm guessing. Fingers
Possibly.
crossed. Maybe I got it right.
So, to bring it back around, those are Captain Redbeard's socials. please go check out his content if you haven't already. I mean, obviously, he's a new face, brand new content creator, fresh off the press. But I wanted to start off with, what was your response to the live stream?
Going into it, I was very much so curbing my expectations based on the wording that Steven had put out. I did not think that we were going to get much. And then once I saw the title of the stream, the basic or the melee the melee weapon basic attack, I'm like, he's just going to walk around and literally just swing basic attack. And it's going to be like, just so underwhelming. Like, it'll be cool to see parts of it, but it'll be so underwhelming. And then out of nowhere, that giant summoned hammer comes flying out of nowhere, and I'm like, this is amazing. Okay, we're seeing a lot.
There we
like,
go.
yeah, it was really good. I was still hoping to see stealth a little bit. I had a prediction that, you know, we might see a rogue kind of come out of stealth and stab Steven in the back in the video, because they were showing off daggers, and I thought that would be a cool way to kind of introduce it. But
Yeah.
that didn't happen, but it was still a really cool update, and I'm very impressed with the direction of the combat as it is.
I have
Yeah.
a feeling, or at least a hope anyway, of someday when they do start to show actual rogue gameplay as a demo, that maybe there'll be somebody else who's doing some of the streaming and talking, and then Steven will sneak up and do the pop up out of stealth and gank him.
Kind of like that, oops, my finger slipped. Now there's 5,000 bears moment.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully the rogue sneaking up on another rogue will be Steven. Like, oh, yeah, I just, figured I'd go ahead and take over the chat here.
Yeah.
This is my domain. Get out of here.
Yeah.
Grumpy
Keep
said
talking, but you're
Steven
staying
will
on the
miss.
Yeah. Right. Oh my gosh. Dual golden
That would be
sandals.
amazing, actually.
No, but yeah, overall, I love the direction that it's going in. A huge, maybe not huge, but pulling out my inner Trump by just saying huge. It was huge.
Huge.
It was huge.
Huge.
Greatest live stream ever. It's perfect. Nothing comes close.
Hi, Z.
Fantastic.
The animation of the mobs forming together, and then the death animation of the mobs, like
Yeah.
the fact that they're putting that much detail even on an NPC, like, it's so cool. Like it was awesome seeing that they actually had animations going on with them, seeing the like small little golem ones rolling around towards Steven and whatnot. So I think there was a lot that was shown, and there was a lot of information that we can derive from what was shown and what was said. So overall, it was, to me, probably the second best update behind weather,
Mm-hmm.
which is crazy because we got them in a row. So
Wait. The second best update so far.
so far, yep.
So far.
But
But yeah, that's kind of how I was. I thought that everything was pretty fantastic. There's a bunch of things to like and a few things to go, well, that could be better, of course.
Mhm.
But we can totally get into details down the line. But I was definitely satisfied with what they brought forth.
Yeah.
Because like you, I set my expectations that there's only going to be a couple things shown, really.
Yeah. Exactly.
And there it was.
I honestly, I like to go into some of these things with no expectation whatsoever. Just, I don't know. I kind of do this very often with life. If I don't know what to expect, I just expect like nothing at all, and just like blank slate, blank mind on what to even like have an idea of what might happen, and then just take it all in as it happens, kind of thing. And I was very pleased, and it's actually kind of funny that Pyrite Elves is playing as we're doing this close-up of the Pyrite Elf. But
Right?
there's something that Vertec noticed, and it was right there in the video, and that was the reflection in the sword.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Like, that's a solid level of I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily something they did on purpose, or they're just like, it's supposed to be a metal sword and it's flat, so it's going to be reflective. Done.
Yeah.
But I just thought it was neat that detail pops out, whereas even metal swords in other games, they don't have that reflection to them.
Right.
It's just, it's a white sword if it's supposed to be metal. The end.
And I was listening to the live stream. I didn't actually watch it completely because I've been doing some work today. But even just because we've talked so much about this before with the weather, right? Even just the audio part of listening to the fight, it sounds heavy, like you're swinging something heavy, and it connects in that case. And I'm like, okay, wow, like it sounds like you're swinging a great sword just from listening to it. Like it's something big, two-handed, right? And looking up and seeing this guy doing this stuff, I'm just like, oh, yep, it matches kind of what I was expecting to hear, which is nice because like usually you just mainly hear the character grunting and a little bit of like a combat-y sound, but not like the depth, like coming over the hill and hearing the water before you get to the ocean depth that they put into it. And it was really interesting to listen to them break down. Like we could do all the little tiny animations and then we let them kind of figure out how to put it together and make it flow better and make it feel a bit better. And this is the result, and it looks really cool, in my opinion.
It does. And just like Zalexia there said,
Let me
the
grab
cool
that.
thing about the very beginning of the video, after he stopped talking and started walking in to do stuff, was when one of the rocks just came to life. Didn't crawl out of the ground. It didn't just appear. It wasn't already walking around. The rock was on the ground, and it just crawled to life. And I forgot for a moment that I was watching a live stream, and I almost went to rewind it, like, go back. Oh, no. Next time. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that was a really, really nifty thing.
Yeah. What did you think about the boss that they showed?
I mean, I thought it was... So there's a little... I mean, first of all, I thought it was really cool, and I want them to start adding scale to these, like, because like when they first showed the Kraken, like they didn't really have a good like kind of scale, like, you know, a little, you know, human silhouette or something next to it to show it. They came later, but I think that mob is supposed to be fairly big if it's the one in the lore that I think it is.
Sorry.
And then having that in the monthly package for the mount is really cool too, because like I like the blue variant of it, and then also like having that as a boss is really cool. Like, but all of the artwork on it is fantastic. Like, it's not a teddy bear, so it's automatically a win for me. Right. So it's not Stufferton.
You don't like Stufferton?
No, I am anti Stufferton and anti Snorse.
You heard it here first. Anti Stufferton. Don't give him a Stufferton. What about Brewbear though?
Brewbear is awesome. Brewbear is awesome.
Okay, that you redeemed yourself with that one. You're on mute.
Oh no. For shame. The mute shame. But yeah, well, your two dislikes balanced each other out, because the Snorse is weird, but Stufferton's is cool in my book. So I was about to end the stream and be like, it was a good stream, it was a good chat, we covered all of the combat, and now we're moving on to logging out.
Like, we only want to have people on the show who have good takes, and that was a bad take.
That was a bad take. But you know, you saved it with the Snorse too, so you know, we're good. We're good.
There you go. Okay. Favorite part of the combat video?
So it was something that I kind of derived based on how they said it. But I forget exactly which engineer was talking, if it was Tad or I forgot the name of the other one. I apologize. But basically they were saying that what they were showing within the combat was essentially, you had referenced it earlier, the scale of which they were looking at for kind of the weightedness of the abilities themselves. And in that statement, they said, this is kind of as far as we're willing to go to sacrifice player, like what the player wants versus kind of what their vision is.
Mm-hmm.
And so that side of it told me that they want feedback, but they still have their vision within combat, and they're not willing to sacrifice that vision because of feedback.
Right.
They're willing to make their vision better and iterate upon it and make it better based on that feedback, but they're not willing to go completely left field, do something like what New World did, where based off of feedback, they completely changed their game.
Right.
Which I think is extremely important, that they have their vision and they're utilizing their community to improve upon their vision, but not change their vision. So that to me was the best thing about the entire live stream. Just that, hearing that alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like they're willing to flex and expand and grow a bit, and take something into consideration. But yeah, if it goes too far afield, then yeah, we'll just not do that.
That's fair.
But I think my favorite part of the video and demonstration there was possibly the smallest thing to possibly notice about the entire thing. And that was, if you watch the video, when they hit the mobs, there's like a split-second delay that shows that there's actual like resistance being met.
Mm-hmm.
It's a super, super small little like tick, but it's there and it exists. And the fact that they're thinking about that and adding that in is going to add, even if it's like imperceptible in the back of your mind, it's going to add that feeling of weight. I think, however, with the great sword like that, like the big, heavy thing, they could probably deal with making that resistance bump maybe twice as long. Because if you look at the video, it's a super short little bit, but they could do, give it 50% extra length, maybe not twice as long. But I mean, with the daggers, I don't think it was hardly there at all, which is great, because that's a really fast weapon, and it's meant to be a slicey, not a crunch that also cuts.
Yeah. For me, there's a few things that I really liked. There's when he is doing some of the capabilities as they talked about in the video. There's some stuff happening in the peripheral. So as he's doing the spin to win capability, you kind of see as he comes out of it a little bit of a kind of like a puddle effect as the camera just whooshes a little bit. I don't know, like a ripple effect almost, if you will. I kind of thought that was cool because I had noticed it before they said anything, but then when they were explaining how they felt like adding that little tiny touch to it kind of really added to the combat. So if you see here, it kind of like ripples a little bit as he's getting done doing that like spin to win thing. And when he's doing the hammer, you kind of see like a slight screen shake to like enhance the impact of how heavily that hammer is hitting the ground around him. I liked that. The cool thing I've not seen anybody else do personally, feel free to tell me of any games that do this, but they pointed out the damage you do goes that way. The damage coming into you goes that way. So the red numbers are going to the left. The gold numbers, I think it was, going to the right. And I thought that was a little bit neat because then you're like, wait, which damage am I doing? Which damage is coming into me? And I wonder, because they had mentioned you could change your skill color. So how his is all gold. If you change your color, does that change the color of your numbers? So you're like, if I'm pink for whatever reason and Vertec is purple, would I be able to see my numbers in pink and his in purple and know whose is doing what damage? That's a curiosity that I have.
Yeah, I have a feeling that it's probably going to be you only see your own numbers coming in and going out like that.
That'd be cool, yeah. That makes it a lot simpler, especially against World of Warcraft where you're seeing like all the numbers on the screen. You're like, whose damage is whose?
Yeah.
Precisely. But
well, and I think when it... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, Ashes of Nair said that he was hoping that they'd go more towards turn-based combat in Ashes. So sorry about that, Nair.
Mm-hmm.
Chuckle.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, not so much.
Not so
Sorry
much.
about your luck.
Oh my gosh, right?
Could you imagine an MMO, like a massive MMO with turn-based combat though? I know Nero was jesting, but just think about it for a moment. How incredibly long would a fight
it
last?
takes us an hour to get through a combat with 6 people in D&D.
Got 10,000 players in turn-based combat.
Someone AFKs to go to the bathroom, and you're just like, no!
This is their spot. Oh gosh.
Raid's gonna take 17 hours. We'll be back tomorrow to do the second half of the first boss. Don't worry.
Oh my god. Oh, 250 versus 250 or 500 v500 would be nuts. Yeah. Oh my god.
Let's see here. What did you end up flagging?
Just a few things that I thought would be kind of nice to take note of.
Okay. Yeah, so the other one I wanted to actually mention you flagged up here, and that's Nero again, saying the main dislike is the dash. I think that's actually a class ability.
I think so.
Because
Like
they
a
mentioned that the
tank
dash isn't in your basic kit, so it's probably a class-based ability, which is why you can dash 3 times in a row, but then it's probably burnt out at that point.
Yeah.
Kind of like the gigantic hammer, which,
Yeah.
if you noticed, the hammer reaches about as far as the dash does, so you could dash out of combat and then smash him with that hammer too. Dash right back in and do a spin. Ooh.
So we had kind of talked about, like we had a little bit of a theory over in Suspect that we were actually seeing different abilities from different class kits, and that it wasn't all from the same class kit. And so we had a theory that that little whirlwind that he was doing was a fighter ability, that the giant golden hammer might be a cleric ability, that the dash might be attached to the ranger or rogue. And I think that's all we kind of saw outside of basic attack and blocking. Something interesting.
Dash backwards.
Yeah, dash. Yeah, in ranger is usually more tied to like some kind of like disengage back, right? You think like World of Warcraft, they're usually jumping back.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then something that I saw that was, I thought was pretty interesting is when he was blocking with the greatsword, it wasn't preventing all damage. It was just reducing the damage. So when he wasn't blocking and he was being hit by the large golem, it was somewhere around 54 damage, I think. But then when he blocked, it was reduced down to like 12 or 18, somewhere in the teens. And so I'm curious, once we see sword and board, if like blocking without a shield, you still take some damage, it's just reduced. But if you block with a shield, then it's completely mitigated.
Yeah, I can see that.
It would be interesting to kind of see how that goes. But I thought that was a cool little detail.
Yeah.
Or even maybe if it's a percentage thing, like you block a third of it if you use your weapon to block, but if you use a shield, it's 2/3.
Yeah. I wonder if the weapon type matters too, because I don't think he actively blocked an attack with the daggers. And so I would be curious. I'd be curious to see if what would normally do 50 damage when you're blocking with the daggers does somewhere in the 20s or 30s, but with the greatsword, it's mitigating more. So it'd be cool to see if that's something that they have implemented.
That would make sense though, because the greatsword is literally like could be used literally as a shield versus like these 2 little daggers. You're like, stop hitting me.
Yep.
The third thing I really liked is the animation after destroying the rock thing, where like the rock just like dispersed into different directions. I just thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah. Also, if you notice during some of these, especially the third swing and then I think some of the abilities, the edges of the screen blur out. So it ends up giving another, like, a feeling of movement and concentration and power, because everything just focuses in on that center portion of the screen.
Makes sense.
It's small little details. The fact that they're looking at that stuff and putting it into place, it means a lot to me that they're looking at these details, because that means they're at least having discussions about it and making decisions based on tiny little stuff.
Yeah. Sorry, that ope was because Steven completely missed the mob.
Par for the course for Steven.
Fair.
Love you, Steven.
Clicker combat, best combat. Just saying.
But yeah, it's honestly there's a lot here with it. I'm pretty proud of it. The thing I noticed was the slight difference between the animations with the greatsword versus the daggers. And I think they even brought up that as like a point.
Sorry, my mind blinked. I was reading Cheese's comment there. I added that to the queue. By the way. What was that you said?
The difference between the combat with the greatsword versus the daggers. I believe they were saying like as you're attacking with the daggers, it's more split body or vice versa.
Yeah, more split body for the big sword. Or no, more split body with the daggers and more root with the big sword. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because I think that's a huge thing that leans into the feeling of the impact of the ability, right?
Yeah.
Like having to stop and swing this giant sword, over your head down onto a target. You should kind of be stuck in place for a moment, like, a split second. What didn't feel good to me personally was like the Ashes 1 root, where everything you did was rooted. Like that didn't feel great. So, I obviously haven't been able to play this iteration of combat, but just visually it looks a lot better and kind of
Let me see. Sorry. While you're talking about that, let me see if I can pull up a video for Vertec to show on the screen that Richie SH put out on Twitter. That shows Alpha 1 versus today's update specifically. Next, like side by side.
Where you stacked them next to each other?
Mm-hmm.
I think he only had like a mage class, I think, on the one side though.
Yeah.
Or no, that's Richie I didn't see his. I saw somebody else doing the same thing. I think it was Azrael. Azrael did the same thing. But yeah, the other cool thing was what did they call it? I think they just said blending with the root animation to split body and back through the course of a skill. Like at the beginning of a skill, it would be like very split body, and then it would swing into the root animation as you're placing your feet down and going to swing this giant sword, and then it would blend back out instead of being as soon as you hit the button, you're just stopped in place. I think that's going to add a lot more of that subliminal feeling of combat. Like you hit the thing and you're going to feel yourself slowing down instead of coming to an instant stop. It's not like a digital on-off switch.
Yeah. Sorry.
No.
I'm going through the notes and I just see double dagger stances smexy. I'm done.
You like that? You like that?
Oh gosh. That's funny.
That's exactly what popped into my mind when I saw it. I said, yeah, double dagger stance is smexy.
Well, what did you guys think about the, it was one of the Q&A questions, but if we're able to turn off like ground clutter, because like in most MMORPGs, you're able to like turn down ground clutter, and it's usually a setting that you turn off for PvP.
Are you talking
related
about foliage?
Yeah, like foliage and sticks and different stuff on the ground. It's usually something you want to tone down in PvP.
For reference, the question he's asking about is, will players be allowed to reduce the amount of foliage in the world to help tune their performance in large PvP combat areas, correct?
Yes.
And the answer to that was they will not allow players to adjust foliage actors in the world. It is meant to be a part of the world that can be used strategically, like hiding. Collision will be a thing, and you might see that bush move if someone is hiding in it or behind it. So just so you guys know, in case you missed that question, the Q&A specifically, that was the question, that was the answer. And go ahead. Sorry, I wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, no, fair. But like, what did you guys think about that? Like, I personally thought it was great because I hate the idea of turning down settings to optimize like a certain part of the game. Like, I think that the environment should be a part of the experience.
I think that means that Chibi is not allowed to hide in the bushes because she will be found out really easily.
Yeah, I think two things about that. For one, I think the question may have actually been misinterpreted. Maybe. because they may have been referring to things like ground clutter, not really foliage specifically like trees and bushes, but just ground clutter and like grass and small things like that. In which case, I mean, they would kind of be silly if they didn't allow you to at least reduce how much of the like grass there is out there, you know, eating up your computing power for your graphics card, because then that immediately kills off a large section of people who don't have super awesome graphics cards that can, I mean, look at the video where it is right now. There's grass on the other island that's waving in the wind. Like, that's gonna kill somebody's graphics card that's like a couple years old.
Yeah.
Like, I'll even rewind it back over, but when you see the video in the background where the little island is back there, you can see grass on the hill, and it's doing the little wavy thing. That's a lot of stuff. But maybe that was too far. I think that was way too far.
All good.
Let's see. There we go. But outside of that, I think that, yeah, trees and large bushes and brush and stuff like that should definitely be there and be stuck in place. But grass and such, I think, should be able to be at least minimized or reduced in some way, if not removed. Because I can see not wanting to remove it all, but that's my take on it, though.
Yeah. I think oh, sorry. Go.
Go.
Like anything that the player can essentially hide in, I think needs to not be allowed to be turned down. So like, exactly. I would agree with like small grass, but if the grass is tall enough to where if I'm prone in it, people don't know that I'm there, like that needs to kind of be static and in there. Maybe we're able to turn down the animation effect of ground clutter, and that would help that computing power, right? So maybe coming at it from a different angle of, you know, turn off wind effect on ground clutter or something like that.
Yeah, the thing I was gonna say is maybe there's like a radius. You know how when you're playing other games, there's like the view radius. Maybe there's like a radius from you where everything past you just turns into like off in the distance art, if you will. Versus all of it being reactive until you get up closer and it becomes within to that radius to help cut down on the resources. If you really don't care and you're like, I've got the beastiest of computers ever and it can run the whole entire world going crazy at once, cool, congratulations. But for some people who don't have that and need to turn it down, that might help reduce some of the strain on the graphics card for, you know, people who can't afford the most super awesome beastie computer. But I know when I get a brand new PC, I want to turn all the graphics as high as I can just to see what it can take.
Just to see.
Hello, Woodchip.
Hello.
Okay. That's understandable.
Oh no. Not a fan of the spin to win stuff? Or is it just in general the action combat-y feel? Because there was some tab target action there too. And he did have it tabbed, and I meant to go back and watch it to make sure, but I think when he had a monster tab targeted, he was actually like following it when he was attacking.
Interesting.
And that the red reticle was underneath. That was the visual identifier of tab target for me. Yeah.
I thought that was really neat.
And I wish I remembered exactly where in the video that was. I totally should have written it down as far as...
There's one really early on. It's actually, I think, the very first creature he comes across. I believe he is in tab for it.
So there was definitely one of these like groups that he was fighting at one point where he tabbed on one and started walking around, and it looked like he was following it.
Yeah.
Interesting. Tab target for the win.
And no, Gildumbra, we're probably not going to PAX or E3, mainly just because financials.
Yep.
Saving up for things and stuff. But I would love to. Someday I'd definitely like to make it out to E3 at least, if not I mean, packs would be fun too.
Yeah.
Guess depends on the experience we're looking for at the time. But I'm looking right now for Richie SH's full video instead of the Twitch one, or not Twitch, but Twitter, because I can't just expand it a little bit. It's either full screen or it's super tiny.
Gotcha.
I'm gonna see if I can find a little bit larger version of that on the YouTube channel he has.
The YouTubies.
On the YouTube.
But yeah, I honestly think it's really, really cool. Personally, I'm not really into the Spindle skill particularly, but that's also because I don't play that class. I play healer classes, so like I think it looks cool, but I know that that's probably not going to be a skill that I have, so I don't really take notice on that personally. But I do enjoy the effects as he's swinging the sword, and just the way that the light lines kind of follow that arc path that the sword is taking. And it's neat to see. I'd like to see it with other weapons. It's neat to see with the dual daggers, just kind of like the slight blur as they're attacking with both hands. It's kind of interesting. But let's see. Ashes and Nares says, I hope they tone down the weapon trails, or that we can, hide it in the UI settings. What do you think about the weapon trails? Since that's what I was just bringing up.
Are we talking about like the VFX animation of like it kind of like cutting the wind, or cutting the air in that little trail that happens? Is that what we're referring to?
I think that's what Nair is referring to. Yeah.
I think it's okay with some abilities, like that's one of those visual effect things that me personally I could live with or without, as long as it's not too crazy.
Right.
I'm a very minimalistic when it comes to combat VFX. I think stuff like mage abilities can be flashy, but for swords, daggers, different stuff like that, unless you have some kind of like, buff on the weapon, like it's the flame sword of awesomeness or something like that, then it like kind of leaves a little fire trail going by. But for like basic weapons and whatnot that aren't legendary, aren't crazy, keep the VFX down would be my preference. So as long as, I would say, based off of what we saw, as long as it doesn't go any more crazy, I'm okay with where it's at. But they could tone it down and I would be good with it. They could tone it up and I probably wouldn't be good with it. So
yeah.
Yeah, me, I kind of like it where it is. Not saying that wouldn't change over time, mind you, especially once you see an entire battlefield full of that type of stuff. But excuse me, but at least for right now, I kind of like it. So I figure as long as they put an adjustment in there for you to turn it down if you wish, and have it be perfectly okay to turn it down and or off, to have a lot of particle effects like that just removed, then I think it's going to be just fine.
Hello,
Dial
Sheeta.
it back if you want
Welcome
to.
in. Right. Sheeta says, I think the yellow weapon after effects is fine, but others were saying they wanted the color to be similar to the daggers. So maybe it's how bright and vibrant the yellow is, that it's like extra eye-catching, versus the daggers being a lot more toned down in color as well. And then
the other thing...
Sorry.
Sorry, I was going to drop in there. Speaking of that, is we also don't know, because he's using class abilities and everything as well. That big yellow streak may very well be an augment. Secondary class augment, or special augments because of any random reason. Just an augment of any kind just being added in there. Like I want my basic attacks to look bright neon yellow because I feel it's awesome.
I was just gonna follow up saying that Lark had put, I think we're all worried about the group content. There's still going to be yellow stripes flying in our faces too much kind of thing. If you see that from other perspectives, which honestly, they didn't have another player there. So we don't even know if you can see the other players like yellow streaks, Steven in God mode.
Yeah. I mean, he does it every stream. There's some kind of crazy thing that happens in every single stream. And I don't know if he does it on purpose to be like, hey, check out this other stuff that we're just not really talking about, but here you go, here's the thing. Or if it's just happenstance and he's just pushing buttons and things are happening.
Both make sense.
Embrace the fabulous. But yeah, so I found the full video. It's actually at the very end of another video, the combat update reveal breakdown, a 5-minute and 30-second long video from Richie SH. I'm gonna put this here link for you folks in case you want to watch the whole thing. But I'll get at least this part going that shows. Oh, and of course it's gonna show these things. Oh, go away. That was like the only time this whole video shows those. It's right at the end.
Unfortunately.
Mer. Then Grammarly comes along and saves the day, so we're better now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Alright, let me skip through this here.
Hello, Wicca. Welcome in.
No, we're not sponsored by Grammarly. We're not making any claims to be. They probably don't like us anyway.
Definitely not me. My grammar's horrible.
But yeah, take a look here and see if there's anything. Oh, there we go. Okay. Nope. It just came back.
Oh yeah, no, that's part of making the video. That's gonna come up at that specific point in time, regardless.
Yeah, I was hoping it was gonna be forgiving and say, oh, well, you already saw it once. Go away.
Nope. It's the end card.
All right. Well, enjoy. Yeah, enjoy what little bit you got to see because that's all there is. That was the direct comparison. You could probably bring up the
smaller one, maybe. I don't know if that would work for you.
Let me take a look.
If not, I'm pretty sure I tossed out the tweet in there. Ooh. So, earlier, 3 hours ago, Dio Gara says, okay, how big is this guy, talking about the boss from today, like yesterday's live, compared to a human? I need to know. And Ashes responded with, we may include a more detailed look at the creature in the future, so please stay tuned.
Bum, bum, bum.
Bum, bum, bum. They know how to keep the suspense going.
They do.
What that really translates to is, hold on, we got to go check with Margaret before we respond to this.
Right.
Yeah. Let's make sure we're allowed to do that. But all right, I guess I'll show the tweet, but it's really tiny and it's gonna look horrendous, so forgive me.
When working with what you've got. Hydrate. Thank you, Wicca.
Mountain Dew hydrates you, right?
Yes, absolutely.
There's water in it.
Had to be made with something, right?
Yeah.
Barely perceptible, but it exists. It's there.
Indeed. Sure.
It's like those last 3 ingredients of any recipe or any ingredients label.
Absolutely.
It's there, but not really there.
While we're doing that, Basin says they need to just put an option in to lower or turn off particle effects like Final Fantasy XIV, continuing on the same topic that we were talking about earlier. And then, if you don't mind, I'll pull up what Cheese said.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
So after that, I'll pull up Richie's video.
Okay. AJ Cheese says, for Trinity MMO, I prefer block to be a non-100% or flat number. That way we can have skills and item stats increase how much we block for. I think that's an interesting take.
Yeah, that's the comment I was reading when I was distracted for a moment.
I like that from the side of... Sorry.
Go ahead, you.
I like it from the side of crafting, because it's just another thing that lends viability to crafters.
Right.
And as far as I'm concerned, you can never have enough things to give crafters more viability when it comes to gear and personalizing gear and all of those aspects. You know, you might have a mage that wants to do a wand and a shield for whatever reason, and you know they're not necessarily worried about block, but they're using the shield more as a stat stick. But then you have a sword and board tank, and rolling really high block percentage might be something that they want to do. And, that's playing into the economy, that's playing into the crafters. So I absolutely personally love that idea.
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. It's still an RPG, so the character has to be in focus, not just the player specifically. It's a good separation. I like that. And there's the reflection on the sword again. Just pointing it out since it's on the screen.
Yeah, since it's there.
Or it was. I know I'm like 15 seconds behind when you guys are seeing it.
Pretty much. Sounds about right. But yeah, here's that little video. It's gonna be tiny, but you at least get the idea of looking at the right side that was the old one and then today's combat. I personally think it's like night and day. It's much more interesting.
Mm-hmm. And there's the red circle beneath the creature.
Yeah.
Before it died.
It honestly looks like two different games.
Mm-hmm.
It does. Yeah.
I like, in my head it wasn't that different, but seeing it side by side, it's
yeah.
like I knew it was better, but it's even so much better than I thought it was.
Now, here's one of the big talking points that I saw some people having that I don't think I agree with in almost any way,
Mm-hmm.
but they were saying that this is looking too much like Ashes is going to be doing the button spam combat, and then they dropped some other MMO names, but I don't really think just because it looks a certain way it has to play the same way.
Right.
Just because it has similar art style. Like there's been a bunch of games that have an art style similar to a lot of other different games, and they didn't play the same at all in any way, shape, or form.
Right.
But the art style and movements were almost identical.
Right.
I mean, I'm on the side of, something that I've always done with working with people, like if I've been a class lead or a raid lead and trying to help people with rotational stuff or just learning their class. I always had a phrase, ABC, always be clicking. Basically meaning always be hitting an ability, always be doing something. And I actually prefer a game. Maybe it's a bad take, but my personal preference when it comes to combat is I always want to actively be doing something while I'm fighting. Because if I am sitting there waiting, if I hit a button and I'm waiting 2 seconds for an animation to go off, to me, that feels boring. Sorry, you might hear some dog grumbles. He's back.
Okay.
You see his tail moving a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, the more active that I am as a player, even if it's just, me using my, buttons on the side of my mouse here,
Mm-hmm.
like as long as I'm actively doing something that's engaging both hands, movement and hitting abilities, that's when combat starts to feel really good for me.
Right.
And so personally, I would be on the side of button mashing.
Yeah,
button mashing with a purpose. With a purpose.
With a purpose, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Not just like because they want to make you do stuff all the time, but yeah. I'm of a similar mind. I need to be doing something at all times, but it doesn't always need to be activating an ability and looking for the next thing to whack-a-mole. Mm-hmm. As long as there's something for me to do, for instance, I need to keep an eye out for the boss. Either they're doing fewer attacks or they're doing fewer of this or they're moving less, but that's because they're really close to the next threshold, and as soon as that hits, all hell's going to break loose. So I need to start watching that health bar, and then I need to start, okay, we're like that close to the threshold, now I need to start looking on that side of the room and keeping an eye out over there. So I'm thankful that combat slows down a little bit at that time, because there's other stuff I got to be ready for. But
I don't quite agree, Cheese.
Bad take, Cheese. Get out of here.
Do you know Cheese?
Yeah, he's an IRL friend.
Oh, okay. I was like,
like Redbeard, we let you on here. You're not supposed to yell at our chat. No, I've known Cheese for like over a decade now.
yeah, that's fair. I was just like, how do I put this nicely? Because like I'm not trying to like re-explain what you said, but I was just trying to say I don't think that was the direction you were trying to go with it. But if Cheese is just
As
being
long
a
as it was
troll
friendly
because you're a
fire.
troll, then it's fine.
Yeah. As long as it's friendly fire, you're allowed to shoot your friend.
Yes.
But I like a mixture of both. I actually have a Razor Naga because I find it easier for me to because my hands are kind of tiny, but also I know where everything is, where my thumb is, kind of thing. So I have a rotation down. I know what I'm hitting. I know what to do next, and it's not very far, so I can focus more on like what I'm doing in the game and not which key am I hitting. Oh man, I hit the wrong key because I thought I hit it 3, but it was a 4. Yeah, but it's like, it's kind of nice. That's what I say.
See?
Oh my gosh. Yes, Z, we know. I'll
No
take
banana
a quick,
for scale, though. No banana for scale.
do you want me to tell them, Z, or is this secret for only the people that said that they're gonna enter in? Let me know. But reminder that Z is doing a community thing. If you want to take part, message Z that you're interested in being a part of it. Yes, thank you, Mrs. Redbeard. I agree because
What are you talking about? I've literally been using it for years. No. She doesn't get credit for this. No. We're married. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Nice.
I needed to, well, it's not actually, I think here's hand for scale. My hands are tiny. I can fit all of them within my range here. So like it fits well within my hand. It's actually, I was gonna do the Corsair version, but the Corsair was much larger. And I was like, no, I need the Naga. I've always used the Naga for like World of Warcraft. So yeah. Honestly, sorry.
That's why I went with the Corsair, because what's nice about the Corsair is it's adjustable. Like hashtag not sponsored, but
Yeah,
and see, that's why I wanted to like the Corsair. I really did, but the buttons they feel so much different. Yeah. It's a lot harder to feel exactly which buttons you're going to push, plus they're a lot farther away, so I have to move my thumb a lot farther, and that means I need to adjust my hand and how it's sitting to be able to reach those back buttons and know that I'm hitting it. Or else I'm going to be pushing buttons with like this very back part of my thumb way back here, and that's just not, it doesn't feel accurate. I don't know if I'm hitting 1, 2, or all 3 buttons at the same time.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just laughing because this is a Ash's podcast where we're like dissecting the
We're talking about mice.
We're talking about mice and MMORPGs.
Oh yeah. I know.
How it relates to Ashes. Yeah.
I just thought it was funny because like we delved specifically into that. Oh no, I'm happy for it. I actually was considering the Naga because I liked the texture of the different rows. So
yeah, they stand out. They're not quite as flat as the scimitar.
But this is why this is perfect, because in the live stream, they talked about making the UI adjustable to also make it be more customizable to you and being able to remap stuff and make it easier to play the game. I connected the dots. Back to topic.
Cheese gets it. Cheese gets it. Just saying.
Oh yeah, but, I mean, I have the other ones over here.
We had to go full circle back to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like my combat to be. It doesn't need to be hectic. There should be some classes that are hectic. Some classes that are absolutely bananas, and you need to be on your game, like constantly reacting to your skills popping up, your cooldowns going off, your everything cycling through, your priorities, your positioning, because some people thrive in that atmosphere. So you need to have at least one class that's all about that, all about being super packed, super just overloaded with stuff to do, so you have to make decisions. And they're going to be split-second decisions, and you're not going to be able to do all the things because your cooldowns are going to be just a massive wreck of what is more important to you. Hit that button.
Yeah.
That needs to be a thing. There also needs to be a fairly slow, casual feeling, but satisfying feeling class for those that like the slower pace, but also like to, hang with the big boys, so to say. like still like to be able to go out and do the big things, but they don't like things to be crazy. They like it to be a little bit more kind of relaxed. So there needs to be a little bit of those, and then everything in the middle. And no, I don't like to get kicked in the jimmy during a raid. I'm the one with the jimmy in my face in the raid because I'm a tank standing in front of the giant boss, and that's all I see is kneecaps and unmentionables for the entire fight. Unless I have that super zoom out option. That's why I like that.
Speaking of that, you know, it sounds like we had this topic, I believe, last week about being able to zoom in and see and feel like you're immersed, right? You're part of your character versus being able to zoom all the way out and see half a mile away. What I think, because we're all raiders here, we like our stuff zoomed out for the most part. Do you ever zoom in during your gameplay, like outside of raiding, or do you keep it zoomed out all the way?
Oh yeah, I zoom in a lot when I'm out and about in the world because you can see more detail of things that are going on, especially if it's a place I haven't been before and I'm just out questing and following the breadcrumbs of where to go and what to do. Yeah, definitely I zoom in. Like about where this video is right now. Oh, no, never mind. This is showing the little one with Richie still. Let me get back to the big video. We'll get out of here.
50 DKP minus. Yeah. So much prettier zoomed in. Yeah, it's very pretty. They put a lot of effort into it. Now, the question that I was going to ask you guys earlier, Beard, what do you think really helped this? Do you think it was UE5 or the time and development, or both?
I mean, 100% both. I think that UE5, I think because they're settled into it, I think we might be getting to a point where we're going to start to see a lot of this stuff come out faster. One thing that I've noticed about Intrepid and the development of Ashes of Creation that I have extremely appreciated is that they're building their own baseline systems for the game. And to me, the way that from a layman standpoint, it seems as though they are building a very plug and play friendly game, meaning they're taking the appropriate steps, they're generating the world, they're generating the baselines, and then adding things in on top of that. And I think UE5 is a huge tool as long as they utilize it correctly. And it seems as though that they are, to allow them to essentially have the different teams work on stuff, implement it into the world because of the baseline that they've created, implement it into the world, and then iterate upon it from there. And so when it comes to anything as far as balancing, introducing new systems into the game, you always have to, when I say balancing, I mean like combat balancing, you have to have a good baseline. And where a lot of games mess up and you start getting like spaghetti code, like in World of Warcraft, where they implement a patch and it screwed up something all the way back in a kata zone or something like that. They're creating a solid baseline to avoid the spaghetti code. And I think that UE5 and the time that they're taking from the development, it's a long way of saying both, but both, and those are my reasons.
Yeah.
And since you bring up and mentioned WoW again, there was something else I wanted to add earlier about the things being busy or slow. Is it says something about slow fights where you don't have to do a whole lot when they name, like an entire genre will name a type of fight after one specific boss in a game. Like, how many people know the term patchwork? It's a patchwork fight. Yeah, that's all that needs to be said. It's a patchwork fight. What's that mean? You stand there and push buttons until it dies, but you gotta push the big damage buttons.
I didn't know that's what that meant.
Yeah, patchwork was ridiculous. It was just you stand there and do all the damage you can, and that's it. Do all the damage you can.
Yeah.
I don't even think there was a tank swap, if I recall correctly. It was just no, there was a tank swap, right? That part I forget.
I don't know.
I do think it's important, at least in terms of World of Warcraft, to have those patchwork gear check fights, right? Because it's a nice little break. It usually happens some way halfway through the raid. But it's also basically letting the raid roster know. Blizzard is essentially telling the raiders to go further than this, you need to at least be able to do this much damage in a certain amount of time. So I think it's good to have it occasionally, but to have multiple bosses just be patched, it's just boring. I mean, you're just standing there, just like, is it dead yet? Like,
yeah.
Right. I could see that for sure.
It's good for progression. Once you've already cleared it a couple times, then it's just annoying. Yeah.
But yeah, to circle, or I guess uncircle back and go back to the topic we were speaking about before I rewound. The tools that you were talking about them building manually, it's been a constant state of hurry up and wait. Like they make progress, they do things, they move fast, and then they hit this kind of wall where they just stop all production and do something. Something's happening. Like they had to rebuild the back end at that one point, and everything kind of stopped except for art at that point. And then building the, speaking of art, they built the procedurally generated town stuff, and things kind of stopped in that sphere for a minute. And then next thing you know, they're like, oh yeah, so we got nodes that are doing things now, and they're just creating random towns instantly on a video. And then this thing with UE5, like, things just stopped while they migrated, and now, like as you said, I think I agree. They're probably gonna end up putting a pedal to the metal and just flying through, and just creating these little bitty tools.
So the important question that I have for you both now, given
I wonder if it's the same question that I was just thinking.
We'll see. Given that the production of items have increased, I'm trying to see if I can find who wrote it, unless it's too far back at this point. But it was character creator, and then weather, and then now combat. Do you think that moves up in your mind when Alpha 2 will be coming out?
Exact question.
We're on the same wavelength. Love it.
I think short answer, yes. How much? I can't. I would need to see more combat updates to want to adjust my guess. I've been thinking late quarter one, or sorry, when does quarter one technically start? Because it's not at the new year, because quarter four technically goes into the new year, right?
I've been just calling it based on the calendar year. I don't mess with that whole fiscal quarter stuff. That's all confusing.
Late summer next year. I wouldn't be surprised to see it spring next year, but this potentially moves it to late. Like the late guess would be spring next year. Possibly winter this year, maybe January, February next year. I don't know if I'm willing to go as far as Grumpy and say October, but I think his guess of October is much more reasonable now than 2 days ago.
Fair enough. I
don't think you didn't get past me.
What? I did nothing. But yeah, I think that it's probably going to be maybe a little bit quicker, a little bit sooner than we were thinking. Like, I was starting to lean towards the same thing everyone else is doing, like 2023, mid 2023, before they start doing the Alpha 2 stuff. Or, at minimum, the beginning of 2023, after the New Year holiday and everything, and then they have time to get back into the working thing, because I think they took like a week or two off for holidays last year, something like that. But my original thought way back was going to be, fall this year they were going to do some spot testing, and then do a week of let everybody in, and then shut it down for the holidays, come back, stand it up, fix whatever server burning issues were happening, and then turn it back on to stay on for the rest of the Alpha 2 test.
That's something along the lines of what I was thinking as well. Like around the fall towards early winter, there'll be like testing stuff. And then over the winter break, just like always, the shutdown for the holidays and whatnot. But no, at the earliest, that's when I expect to see stuff. But I bet they're gonna want some testing before they go live with the A2. So I imagine they're gonna want some Alpha 1 and higher backers to be able to have access into that real quick. Potentially even what they did, I believe, with Alpha 1, where they started letting people with Alpha 1 in, and it's like, no, secret, you can't talk about this until they said that you could, essentially, before it actually got into Alpha 1, so they can get more people in to test on it. So I thought that was really neat. But don't worry, Nara, I pinned your question, so we can get to it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm either way, I'm just excited. I'm pretty happy with this live stream because I'm seeing a lot more that's, again, with the side-by-side that Richie did. I want to see this next to the 2017 stuff now, because I thought the Alpha 1 next to the 2017 stuff was gorgeous, and this is gorgeous next to Alpha 1. What does that make the 2017 stuff now?
What does that make the 2027 stuff now?
Haven't seen it.
Besides, fully complete and being played, because there's no way it's going to go on that long in development.
It's going to be huge. It's going to be amazing. Best combat you've ever seen.
Huge.
Well, does it make combat great again?
It was the biggest axe ever.
They had those hats, make MMOs great again, back at
I wanted one of those. I think it was the
first PAX that they went to.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, it didn't really get too much. Just to kind of touch on Nara's question, I didn't really think too much about some of the things that Stephen was mentioning that they are overhauling or redoing or in some way, shape, or form altering.
Mm-hmm.
But so the one thing
on Two Guys in a Bar, Fane is a PI backer.
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't know what he was referencing when he said, "Oh, I almost accidentally leaked something." And then we saw the live stream the next day.
Mm.
And so I think there is more information. And it was basically, we were able to figure out that it was in reference to the map changing.
Mm.
So it seems like there are some pretty decently sized changes going on. Which, by the way, I got to laugh at Fane a little bit because he spent a ridiculous amount of money for that map that he has in the background of the Ashes map. Like, it's on like a custom canvas, and it was like a custom thing he got made.
Yeah.
And now
I kind of want one. I'm still jealous of that thing. I really am.
But yeah, I don't necessarily think we need map changes because we don't necessarily know like really anything about the map, right? Like, we just know that picture that's been there for the last 4 years or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely excited to see more of the map and kind of have a good idea of what not just the live map is going to look like, but what we're going to be able to play in Alpha 2. What continent we're going to be on, because I remember a while back Stephen had said that like alpha and beta testing will be limited to one continent. That way the other continent can be completely brand new for even people who were testing.
Right.
So.
I know they called it Alpha Island at one point too.
Yeah.
Hope they add color scale from the start color. You can only go so far from it, light or dark. Interesting. So that actually brings us to the next question from chat, which is, what were your thoughts on the direction of the die system and how it applies to your paper doll?
I love it. I hate the rainbow effect. I stuff being uniform. I think if a game, for example, like Guild Wars 2, very colorful, lot of customization when it comes to dyeing, a lot of customization when it comes to your appearance in general. I think that works in that game because they've kind of built the game around that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like in Ashes of Creation, it kind of has its color palette, and it's still very broad.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially when you take the underground into effect or the underworld into account. There's a very broad color palette, and so I don't think it would be too limiting. But I do want Ashes of Creation and Intrepid to kind of stick to this idea of it needs to make sense within the world.
Right.
Like, it doesn't need to be rainbows and unicorns everywhere because that's not the type of game that they're developing, or we haven't been led to believe.
This isn't Tiny Tina's?
Exactly. It works in games where it works.
Yeah.
And from what I have seen of Ashes so far, that's not the direction that they're taking.
Right.
So I don't want it to be there if that's not the direction that they're taking.
That's fair.
And I'm on kind of the opposite end of the spectrum there. Like, I'm not one that loves to have the weird, crazy, wild colors and 17 different colors on one piece of gear.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like to make sure that if I have a piece of gear that has a certain feeling to it, I want it to be a certain color. Why do I have to stick with poop brown and then add a little bit of purple to make it a purple poop brown? Like, why can't I make it just purple? You can dye leather purple. You can do it with fruits and berries. You probably take beets and turn it into a blood red looking color.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, different flowers and whatnot will make different colors and all this and that. And I've personally found whenever anybody says like keep it realistic and they're talking about a fantasy world, it always makes me kind of chuckle inside my head. Mm-hmm. Like, I totally understand what they're saying, but it always makes me chuckle a little bit, just because I think you're fighting dragons with a sword as a single person and you expect to win. It breathes fire larger than your town, and you are going to win against that? Oh, it's because you're bringing a magic stick that shoots lightning bolts. That's... okay, got it. But neon green is way overboard. But...
well, and that's why I say it needs to be realistic to the game, like to the world that they've created.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like, I totally get what you're saying. It's just in the back of my head, it runs through that entire statement. I'm like,
yeah.
Tee. But no, I totally see what you're saying. But I feel that even if they were to limit it to quote unquote like universe realistic and such, colors would be fine as long as I can have full control over what I do with those colors. But also, how am I supposed to be a Jestermancer if I can't be a cleric summoner that can color my entire wardrobe at least 18 different colors?
Well, I'm just gonna kill you the moment I see you. So
You're an eyesore.
Yeah. But I mean, in my time playing a couple games that let you do all that, yeah, I've seen some weird colored outfits, and I've seen some really crazy facial features that people make, like balloon heads with tiny little eyes and stuff like that. But I've found personally those are so few and far between, like they may as well be genetic mutations that actually exist in the world, or somebody got really jacked up when they went against the mad scientist magician up in the mountains. Mm-hmm. Or maybe they got cursed, or maybe they just have really bad fashion sense. I don't know. I don't judge. Let them do their thing. They're going to be the ones that get shot at in the PvP, not me, because they're going to stand out.
Yeah. I was just going to say that I actually really liked the idea where it was going to apply the colors throughout your armor or your paper doll, I guess. Because I always dislike having to try to figure out which specific color of pink I chose, and then I have like slightly different colors of pink throughout my character armor because I was trying to get the exact one. But I don't know. I think it's kind of nice, but the most important thing to me is, can I do an iridescent thing? Can I do like the bioluminescent stuff? That'd be cool on my armor. As like a dye, you know.
Who knows? That'd be fun to see, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really do like that feature, though. The synchronize with the entire outfit. that's really cool because like
Yeah.
you said, I've used the exact same color on different pieces of gear and it looked different. So I had to find a different color that looked similar and try to put it on the second piece of gear and keep fishing for maybe this color will do it, maybe this color will do it. Why is green and blue the same color on two pieces of gear? I don't get it, but it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like the sync thing that's going to make them actually the same color between everything.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, I wonder what the Kickstarter dies are like as well. But if you can believe it,
I
it is
cannot.
already 8:30,
My goodness.
right?
My goodness. My, how time flies when you're having fun talking about slaying things.
So much fun stuff to chat about. I found one in particular fan focus, which is from Zeshio, which Redbeard also noticed and liked. So we don't have too much there in terms of other stuff to chat about. Mainly just a lot of the Ashes stuff. But to kind of call back to the blended combat, one reason, one of the notes that Vertec has here, one reason for a blended system is because of, is on the looting rates. If the looting rates are based on a blended tagging and damage system, is there a consideration for tanks or healers that may not output as much damage? And one reason for a blended system is because of those rules. Tag will add a percentage bonus to your damage done, which is interesting. But also, again, this live stream, Steven reiterates that the strongest armor in the game will be crafted armor, artisan armor. So
That's one thing that I love that they're keeping consistent.
Absolutely. Which definitely pulls in that desire and that need for crafters.
Yeah. You can. For crafters to be viable, not only while leveling but in game, you just keep throwing systems in that benefit crafting. It's gonna lead to a strong economy. It's gonna lead to casual crafters, casual gamers having an avenue that they can go down without having to go,
Hardcore raiding.
a hardcore raiding, hardcore PvP. They can still be impactful within their guild. Crafting is something that even for somebody who's hardcore elitist like myself, I love crafting in games. And if it's good enough, that might become a focus. And
Right.
maybe I just go hardcore in crafting.
Yeah.
So it's make it as strong as you possibly can, Intrepid, please.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is I enjoy the process of crafting. I really do. Like, I actually enjoy making things and progressing a crafting skill. But I despise doing it in games where it means nothing except progressing your crafting skill. Like, that's all it does for you is progress your crafting skill and create junk that you can't sell because the market's flooded with it because everybody makes the same stuff to level. And then you get to max level and it's like, yay, you're a...
Aberrat.
whatever.
Thank you.
Aberrat.
Thank you, friend. Cheers to you.
Thank you so much.
Basin,
Much appreciated.
Psychophobic, Dow. Hello, Dow. Nice to see your name. Basil and Guild Umbra. Welcome in. Thank you so much. Please, please always thank your wonderful tipper for that. The person that gave you the gift.
Yeah, thank you, Tipper. Thank you, Tipper.
Thank you, Tipper.
Basil the Clicker thought he could lurk and hide. You have been found.
Actually, that's not always true that they're in the chat because I have randomly gone on to Twitch when I haven't been on all day and I have like a notification like so-and-so gifted you a sub to someone's channel and I was like, I wasn't even there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, still, thank you guys. We really appreciate your support and it's really helpful for us. And we have a lot planned and that will help us get there faster. I don't know what I was saying before that. I got distracted.
Crafting.
Cheese.
Oh.
I know. No. You were correct. I was referring to cheese. They could make the raid give crafting mats though. Okay, but imagine a scenario where you main crafting as a casual and you're hardcore crafting because you may not go out and raid very much, but you sit and you craft all day. So your crafting skill is like way higher than somebody who goes out and goes raiding or like farming or whatever. And as a part of your guild, the way that could work out is because your crafting skill is so high, they would bring those mats back to you so you don't have to go out to the raid, and you would make the armor that they need with the mats that they brought you. And yeah, so you don't have to go and raid. Now, would I be one of those that are like try to master craft and also go out and raid? Absolutely, because that's just half the fun is going and raiding. But yeah, I love the combat update. Plus, I thought there were a lot of teases about how far along they're on many things. I agree, Abarat. Thank you.
But yeah, real quick, just to share this out because we spoke about it for a quick moment. That Zeshio comic.
Oh, I was buying you time. I'm sorry.
I had it up for a minute there.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
But yeah, love us some Zeshio.
Die, Pyre. They don't even know. I just unlocked my basic attack. So dramatic and amazing.
I feel like that's what happens when you take a group of level 1 D&D characters, but you don't let them be level 1 yet. You're like, okay, you're a random person. How do you choose your class? And you take them through that storyline, and you're like, congratulations, you can do class things now.
You can do class
Here's your
stuff.
weapons. Oh, look at that. Almost perfect. Let me fix this, actually. I think what I was looking for was this. Oh yeah, the level 0 experience, right? A guild of crafters will be wealthy, indeed.
Yeah, see, I want to take up crafting just so that when I go raiding, I can actually roll need on the recipes when they drop.
Mm-hmm.
And then it will give me reason to get crafting mats from other people to craft the really good stuff. So everyone else can level my crafting for me.
Meanwhile, I'm going to be over here making potions and then trying to trade with the master crafter for armor. I got potions. You want potions here?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you might have
seriously,
some legendary potion blueprint or something like that.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
The
I might have a
never-ending flask.
crafting elixir. Right? The never-ending flask.
Yeah. The bottomless
Better
flask.
have meat in that thing.
Mhm.
But yeah, I truly have hope for the crafting in this game because I always get bummed out when I have fun with crafting and I make stuff and I do things and I get all the way up to, end game content and I max it out and then I find out that I just made a bunch of garbage.
Mm-hmm.
And I never touch crafting again for that game from that point.
That is fair. That's fair. So, biggest takeaway from the live stream and why?
The progress. I think Abarat said it the best. All of the kind of little breadcrumbs that we got for how far along everything is coming, and the combat itself is not just looking good, but the game as a whole, and what you're able to kind of see based on how they're answering the question, or I guess the answers to the questions themselves, and kind of getting a little bit of that. I've been in a very reserved state when it comes to Ashes for probably the last year, and I'm starting to get that little bit of a hype train burn starting to come back into me again. So
I always love when the live stream hits just right, and then you see kind of like breath enter into the community again as like excitement renews. I always love that.
Phrasing. Are we not doing phrasing anymore?
Always doing phrasing.
Protect.
So Really quick before I get into my takeaway, everybody in chat, it's getting just about that time where we're going to start needing to think about who to raid. So if you could start seeing anybody that you would like us to take all of this crowd over to, please toss it up in chat. If you don't know, then feel free to search out. I do know that I see two old friends of the podcast, Hero Vision and Tech Deck 22. Tech Deck's playing Lost Ark, Hero Vision is playing World of Warcraft. So there's two options that I know of. The Golden Feather is another option. They're live right now, apparently. So that's a third one. But yeah, anybody you know that's doing anything that you think would be fun and interesting, where you just want to support a friend, let us know, and we'll see about jumping over that way, because we've rated Hero and Tech Deck a whole bunch. So
Indeed.
spread the love a bit.
Indeed.
But my biggest takeaway also is kind of the same thing, just the progress that's been made, the fact that they did some really cool stuff with combat, with some very small, minute details that exist, and just the fact that they exist means that they're thinking about them and trying to tune even the smallest things into the experience of combat, like those little micro stutters of resistance when a blade hits an enemy, the fuzzing around the edges of a screen when they do like the power move, the detail of the whoosh that's left behind when they do the dash, that just looks really neat, looks really cool. Yeah, all the debris left around on the ground when you smash it, the rocks the creatures that crawl out of the ground and then fall apart, like the tiny little things that just look neat, and sometimes you don't even notice until you see it, and then you go, wow, that's a really cool thing that they did, and then you forget that it exists until you take note of it again, and you're like, yeah, that's right, that thing exists. But your brain sees all of it, and it kind of adds to the feeling of stuff.
Yeah. Ah, thank you, Captain Rapier. Appreciate that.
Thank you, friend.
My thanks, Psycho. My GM told me to use Twitch Prime. So
Nice.
Twitch Primes now. Appreciate that, Psycho.
I kind of like the template on the ground behind him when the sword would hit behind him, and then there's the little template. But even when you moved, you would turn and you'd move and you'd turn towards the template. The template would still be in the same location. I thought that was really cool too. It's not just like an on-screen effect. So I thought that was nice.
It was very much exactly where the blade impacted too.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It was really neat. Let's see. My biggest takeaway, I'd have to say, honestly, because I was listening to it, the combat sounded good. It sounded like it was hitting when it was hitting. It sounded like it was hitting as heavily as it was hitting. And V-Man, we do have a guild, yes. We are part of Nexus. I thought I had... Do I have a guild? Exclamation mark guild? Or is it exclamation mark Nexus or something? I'll have to go look into that. But yeah, part of the East Coast people. It was funny. We started on the West Coast and everybody was East Coast time. We were trying to play games together and I was like, it's so early. And then I was finally ready and everybody's asleep. And I'm like... But yeah, honestly, I'd have to say my favorite part was just the heaviness and the weightiness of the just the weapons as they were fighting and everything, and it sounded thuddy, it looked thuddy, and it matched really well with the visual and the audio, and I liked that. I thought that was really cool.
Bro, did you say you didn't get... Oh, you probably think, like, did we specifically create a guild? Like, are we leading a guild? If that's the question, then no. No, not at all.
Yeah.
We have some things that we need to free up other times so we can concentrate on doing more for the stream. And once we get that going, we have other plans that are really going to take up a lot more time. And we're never going to have time to lead a guild. Or come close to it. I won't even have time to lead a raid, for crying out loud. Not unless it's a newbie raid and I'm like, all right, guys, grab your tickets. Everybody single file line. Let's take the tour. Yes, I've been here many times. So if you look to your left, you'll see trash. Go ahead and kill it. Go ahead. Like, unless it's one of those types of things, I'm not going to be a raid leader even.
Yeah. But
I didn't think that person that you mentioned was online right now. No, she's not. She's not.
oh,
I think that may just
maybe-
be a page refresh issue.
I will refresh. Yeah, that is fair. My bad.
Had me wondering though. Says,
Yeah,
"Wait,
sorry.
There's no way.
That's fair. Refreshed. I'm here.
Yay.
But yeah. All right.
Shall we roll between the two then? We got a hero and a tech deck.
Sure. Awesome stream. You
Yes.
kept me awake. Thanks. See.
That's what we do. We help you make bad
Oh,
decisions.
Our
Keeping you
pleasure,
awake
Abra.
till
Thank you
all
for being
hours.
here. I hope you all have a great weekend. Think you guys have a great week, especially for those of you in the U.S. that are celebrating 4th of July. I hope you have a wonderful long weekend. And for those of you that aren't, I hope your weekend is just as lovely, if not as
Wait.
long.
It's a
have
world.
a-
It's a world holiday. Celebrate it with us.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, there we
Just
go.
call out of work on Monday and be like, sorry, America's having a holiday. I'm joining in on that. I don't care if I'm from like
Happy day of
Ireland.
explosions. Yeah. But
So.
let's see if we have a roll d20
I don't
thing
think
set up
we
here. I'm
do.
gonna say odds for tech deck and evens for hero.
Sure. Oh, we do.
Was it
Okay.
2 and 5? Okay, so there was an odd and an even, but it adds up to an odd. So there we go.
Good solution. Good solution.
Yeah, yeah. Wait, and I did say odd was tech deck? I forget already. Look
Other
at
way
that.
around. Other way around.
Okay. See, that's why we keep you around. That's why we had you on the show. So you can keep track of
Yeah.
Awkward
things that I
smile.
say and forget 10 seconds later.
I was more distracted by the fact that there's a D20 and it rolls 2 of them instead of just 1.
Yeah.
And they both rolled very low.
Yes, they did.
Both rolled bad.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
I
I'm
do
glad you guys
have
have
to
fun.
ask though, Vertec,
Hmm.
when are you going to use the intro? Because I want to see Chibi's face. I want to see her reaction to that intro.
Oh.
I have to be there when you guys go live for that one. I have to.
I'll see. I think I have to save it for an occasion with somebody else. We try to have somebody else's intro for them, but we don't always
Mhm.
get to asking people before we have them on the show.
Yeah.
Like today was one of the few occasions where we actually got your voice intro before we started today.
That's why I
so
was like, oh my gosh, we're having him on again. Let's just ask.
let's just do it now.
Always use Chibi's face. We never see her belly.
She is a floating head,
Absolutely.
just so you know. From the shoulders down, all she has is just arms that are attached to the box that she is placed upon. But yeah. Oh gosh, the box is sinking. So, Redbeard, do you have anything you would like to share with people before we run away and escape?
Captain Redbeard here on Twitch. Drop me a follow over there. Variety streamer. Live Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. If I'm not making a guest appearance on a podcast, 7 p.m. Central, and usually stream for anywhere from 2 to 12 hours. Depends on what I'm playing, what I have going on the next day, but yeah, stop by and hang out, and we'll troll each other a little bit. Have a good time.
You forgot to tell us that Wizzy is your mom.
Wizzy is
Don't
my
worry.
mom.
She told us, so, you know, she has no problem throwing you under a bus.
Yep.
Mhm.
There's a weird family tree in Suspect. Like, Wizzy is Grumpy's grandma, but Wizzy is my mom. So does that mean I'm Grumpy's dad? There's a weird family tree going on over there.
Yeah, as
Yeah,
happens.
Basin said it right. She's just old. That's what it comes down to. She's old.
Okay, fair enough.
Our trees
Does he
don't
have a
branch.
CISSP? Not
Lizzie.
today. Not today. Tree won't branch. Just keeps going back to the trunk. Well, that's terrible.
There we go.
Like a
I'm sorry I brought these people
A
in
tree
here. I
Well.
apologize.
This is definitely
Well,
a way
alright.
to end a podcast.
It's true. It's true. So
It is a way.
it is a way. It may not be the way, but it is a way. Well, thank you everybody for stopping in. Thank you for your chats, your jokes, your ha-has, and just hanging out with us in general. spicing up the end of our stream here has been delightful.
Oh my gosh.
Appreciate
Thanks.
every single one of you. You could have been somewhere else, but you wouldn't have been poking fun at the red beard here, so I guess you kind of had to be here, right?
Yep. Easy target. Bald ginger, red beard. Yeah. I've heard it all.
Understandable.
Heard it all.
Understandable.
No, I mean, again, appreciate you guys having me on. I was surprised when you reached out to do back to back. I mean, I love talking ashes, so
Our pleasure.
it's always a great time.
As do we.
Yeah, we wanted to chat combat with you because that's what we were supposed to chat. So, but thank you guys for giving us your time and for being here with us this evening. And I hope you have a lovely weekend. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
Catch you later.